I too want to commend our state resources, the people who have worked very hard in the wake of this disaster. Also the local authorities who are working cooperatively, the sheriff's offices, the firefighters, the state patrol. We have had a great team effort. And as you probably have seen, we are having volunteers from other parts of the state who are trained to come in case of disasters, and we appreciate the fact that they would volunteer their services and their equipment. That makes a big difference. We're just Georgians helping each other, and that's one of the great things about the people of our state. I want to also thank the elected officials who are here today, our state senators and representatives, and our United States representatives who is here, and representatives from the other congressional and from the other senatorial offices who are here as well. We're all concerned about this, and we're going to try to bring every effort to bear to try to make sure that we relieve the situation here just as soon as we possibly can. Let me then open it up to your questions, and we'll be glad to try to respond.
Governor, can you tell us your first impressions as you flew over the sites, what you thought as you were looking down at the sites?
I think anyone who looks at this is just hard to imagine that nature can be this devastating. Having seen tornado effects in the past, I am familiar with the damage that they can do. But this is an unusually wide swath that was cut with this particular area here, and also over the Dade County area. And to have multiple tornadoes in the same general vicinity is something a little bit unusual in terms of my understanding and knowledge of that. But it is truly devastating. And we're very fortunate, quite honestly, that we did not have more loss of life, because it has covered a very wide area all across this northwest Georgia.
Governor, in past disasters, homeowners have become frustrated because they get bogged down with promised help and then red tape. What is in place this time to assure they can get the quick help, and what do they need to do?
Well, let me turn that over to Charlie, because he is dealing with that, I think, at the state agency level. Charlie?
Morris, first of all, we're going to make sure that people have shelter, and that's being done through this plan. Then we're going to worry about getting people back in their homes. And the folks who may not have the proper insurance will hopefully get a FEMA declaration. And if that's the case, there's been much improvement done with the call centers, the 1-800 numbers, the processing time, and quite frankly, on the back end, the verification to make sure that we're helping the people that need to be helped, not just the ones who might try to take advantage of the system. So I think there's some safeguards built in, and there's some ease of use. Get to it through the internet as well as the phone number.
Mr. Ringgold, we asked Catoosa County earlier in the 10 o'clock news conference whether or not the tornado sirens were sounding. They couldn't tell us yes or no specifically if they did before this particular storm. Are they giving you that answer, and should they have been sounding like that?
What county?
Catoosa County. We asked those officials this morning at the 10 o'clock news conference. They said they were sounding earlier in the day, but they couldn't tell us if they were sounding at this particular time. Is that a concern to you? Should they have been sounding?
Well, I mean, certainly after the fact, you look back and hopefully the sirens would be sounded anytime there's a tornado warning. Every jurisdiction has their particular protocols that they follow. Some do it with severe thunderstorm warnings, others do it with tornado warnings. So I would say if their protocols were followed, then they were good, because that's what you train the community to, is those particular protocols. I wouldn't know whether they were going off or not. That would be a local comment.
Do y'all have any ideas about damage estimates yet?
None whatsoever.
Governor, can you explain what the declaration of disaster means to homeowners, to business owners? What does that mean that this is now a disaster zone?
Well, it is the first step, of course, for asking for a federal declaration of an emergency. And it is the federal declaration that primarily brings in the financial assistance at the federal level. But it also activates all state agencies in terms of providing the kind of assistance for clearing roads, providing the other kind of help, law enforcement if that is necessary. It brings the state resources to bear. The financial resources are primarily going to have to come at the federal level.
And where does the state money come from? Everybody knows the budget's tight. Where do you pay for all this out of the state budget?
Well, we have budgeted amounts for covering these kinds of things. Hopefully we've got enough to cover.
Even the storm.
That your connected to that goal was not higher. Obviously, for this series of storms, it was higher than we typically see. What do you attribute that to? Is that circumstances? Are there any lessons learned from having it here initially?
Well, anytime that you have a loss of life, that is obviously a tragedy. But we do know that our neighbors to the west, Alabama, had somewhere in the neighborhood of 100 or 131 deaths that I think have been confirmed at this point. In terms of loss of life, their loss was much greater than here in Georgia. And we are thankful that we did not have a greater loss of life. These are just the kinds of things, though, that you can do everything that you can and you still cannot always avoid these kind of tragedies. Obviously, nature is a powerful force, and we have seen that demonstrated as of yesterday. I think we have come a long way, though, quite frankly, in terms of the early warnings. And I quite frankly want to thank the media for the excellent forecasting and the continual coverage of these tornadoes and these storm warnings all through yesterday and into all of last night. I think the media did an excellent job in that regard, and I think now we all understand that when you hear these kind of warnings, you need to take them seriously, because the technology that the state possesses, that local communities possess, and the technology that the television stations possess is much more sophisticated than it has been in the past. And you're able to predict and make the warnings and the calls. And on behalf of the citizens of this state, I want to thank y'all for the role that you played. And I think you played a role in making sure that those numbers of fatalities were reduced.
And engage inmates to help in this process, but I think an important part is to make sure that we rendered safe those down lines and make sure that there's nothing live. So it's a group effort with the power companies and the state agencies and locals, and I'm sure there's contractors. I'm just not aware of that.
So they're there with the locals trying to physically clear roads, clear power lines, so to speak.
Yes.
Is FEMA playing any role in helping the water treatment plant get back online? Folks right now currently have to boil their water. You guys have any part in helping that with that?
I understand there are generators that are being provided. And so, but I don't know the status of this one.
And the boiling order's not lifted.
Don't know.
What did y'all see in Trenton, and how does it compare to what you've seen here? What did you see in Trenton, and how does it compare to what you've seen here?
Well, both areas were hit in part of their downtown regions. So there is a huge amount of damage to businesses and homes that are near the downtown area, just as you see here in Catoosa County. There are also outlying areas where it appears that as the tornado came over the mountain ridges, it would skip. It would hit places and then it would skip and hit another place. Trenton, of course, is sort of in a valley and between ridges, and as a result, it appears from looking at it from the air that the tornado came from the Alabama side over a ridge, dipped down and hit that southern part of downtown Trenton, went across the mountain, skipped, and went up as it hit the rock of the mountain, and then a repeated pattern all the way across, and of course, you've seen the devastation here in the Ringgold area as well. Let me just leave one final number for you. For those who may not have any other way of contacting anyone, we would invite them to call the governor's office, and we will relay requests and information to the appropriate authorities. Our number is 404-656-1776. That's 404-656-1776. And once again, thank you all for being here today. Thank you to all of those who are helping to aid in the assistance and recovery. It is going to be an ongoing effort for a period of time, and we will all be putting our best efforts toward those purposes. Thank you very much.